Welcome to this week's edition of New York Now. I'm Dan Clark. There is no easy way to describe last weekend's horrific mass shooting in the city of Buffalo. 10 people were killed at a local grocery store by an 18-year-old motivated by white supremacy and racist conspiracy theories. And in the days since, there's been a scramble here on how the state and the country should respond, if at all. From Buffalo to Albany to New York City, electeds and top officials spent the week trying to figure that out. Take a look. Calls for change after last weekend's mass shooting in Buffalo, which took the lives of 10 people at a local grocery store. Governor Kathy Hochul out first with a call for social media companies. She wants those sites to create new ways to find when someone posts a plan to harm someone and send those threats to law enforcement. The shooter had posted his plan online just before he carried out the attack.
And that is our call to action. And I'm calling out the social media platforms where this hate can be spewed and people are learning how to create guns and violence and weapons. And what this dissemination, this virus called white supremacy.
On Monday, U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer took to the Senate floor in Washington with his own calls for accountability. He called out extremists and far-right media outlets for helping spread a racist conspiracy theory that motivated the shooter. That theory falsely claims that non-white immigrants are being brought into the U.S. by Democrats for political gain.
It is dangerous and a deeply anti-American worldview. It is poisoning minds, people's minds, who spend hours wandering the darkest wastelands of the internet.
Let our rejoicing rise.
That's a message that echoed back in Albany at the state capitol. Lawmakers rallied on Monday in support of the victims' families and against white supremacy. Senator Tim Kennedy represents the neighborhood where the shooting happened.
And there are 10 souls that won't see today or tomorrow because of it, that were lost. Because of the evil of white supremacy. Because of the hate that's been legitimized on the internet and in social media, on the news.
Other lawmakers expressed frustration over federal gun laws, calling for stricter requirements for ownership. State officials said that while the shooter bought the gun legally in New York, he modified it and used an illegal magazine from out of state. State Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie said he'd support change at the national level in response to the attack.
This country's insane obsession with guns and assault weapons needs to be talked about. You want to have a gun to protect your house or your property or your family? Fine. What the hell do we need military weapons in the hands of civilians?
New York's gun laws are among the strongest in the country, so it's unclear what lawmakers might do here after the shooting. But Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins said that's something they'll consider in the coming weeks.
So I'm sure in these waning weeks we will come together. If there's things that we've missed, we need to be able to tighten those loopholes.
Then, on Tuesday, a visit from President Joe Biden, who labeled the attack as domestic terrorism, fueled by white supremacy.
What happened here is simple and straightforward. Terrorism. Terrorism. Domestic terrorism. Violence inflicted in the service of hate and the vicious thirst for power.
Biden has been a supporter of stricter gun laws in the past and doubled down on that position, saying Congress should place limits on military-style weapons. And like Schumer, he blamed the shooting on extremist ideas spread online and over the air in a divided political climate.
The venom of the haters and their weapons of war, the violence and the words and deeds that stalk our streets, our stores, our schools. This venom, this violence cannot be the story of our time.
And one day later, Governor Hochul out with new actions at the state level and support for a package of gun laws. New York will now have a new domestic terrorism unit, a threat assessment management program, and a unit within the state police to track extremist threats and respond.
Yeah, because everyone's saying, how was this happen? This information was out there. The footprint, the fingerprint was out there. We are going to ramp up these efforts intensely at our intelligence center.
The state police will also now be required to report when someone shows signs of danger, either to themselves or others, under New York's red flag gun law. That law allows a judge to remove someone's guns and prevent them from buying more under those circumstances.
And we'll provide law enforcement with the guidance they need, the criteria to follow, and we believe that together these steps are necessary to confront the stem of rising hatred, white supremacism in our state.
And Hochul also threw her support behind a package of new gun legislation. Those bills would expand when the red flag gun law is used, require law enforcement to report recovered or seized guns within 24 hours, and require microstamping on ammunition.
So there is legislation out there to do this already. The legislature has already talked about this, so I'm not saying I feel overly confident. I just feel that there's an interest in the conversations we're having with the legislature.